My question is about the role of anonymity in the evolution of forums, right? We have the happy, bright web with the Twitter and Facebook people that are excited to be here that have their real name. Those of us that have been around in the forum space for a while, you know, in the old days, we wouldn't even use free emails to allow registrations because we wanted to make sure there were real people. Definitely moved away from that. But the question is, do you see forums going more towards the bright web where people come out of the closet, or is anonymity and made up names going to be part of our experience for the future too?
So I'll take this. I think anonymity is going to remain in forums, and I don't see it changing in the future because online forum users generally take on this persona that's specific to the forum. They can have many personas that span different forums. They'll be on a Ford site and have one persona, and then they'll go to a Chevy site and have a completely different persona, as long as the usernames don't match up. So the anonymity factor kind of allows users to freely express themselves in a way that they want to be seen. So it may not be reality, but to them, that's who they want to represent online. And I don't see that changing unless something really drastically happens to change that. But I think the reason that Facebook is so popular is because it's not anonymous. And one of the downfalls of MySpace was that it was anonymous. And I don't see the forums being affected in the same way that MySpace was, because that persona kind of carries throughout that users experience on that site. So it almost becomes their brand, so to speak, on a forum and what they represent. So
I'll disagree. I think the youth, privacy is very different for the youth, right? They're putting up the pictures of them drunk at the party. But at some point, they will be the only ones eligible to be managers of the company. And then they will be the only ones hiring people. And they'll go, oh yeah, I posted pictures of that party. And so it's okay to hire that person that was doing the same thing. And so privacy suddenly starts to shift, and we become less concerned about our privacy. We become more willing to take on the persona. I don't know. I have crazy mutton chops. I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see people's individuality start to be expressed more and more, a la
I think though, from eBay's perspective, you've got to tie in reputation, right? And
yeah, absolutely. And in eBay's context, it's so if you had said anonymity in terms of commerce, not forums, I would have a very different answer.
Yeah, I heard a great perspective from a site owner the other day, a very, very, very large site owner that said, we never want Facebook Connect on our sites. We do not want people bringing in their real names because we never want someone judged on age, gender, race, religion, nothing. We want them to be judged on the merit of their content alone, right? Now, if you want to run something like that, you have to have very draconian moderation policies, which says, don't get off topic ever, because we're here to talk about the subject that we're here to talk about, and we're going to be judged on the merit of the kind of contributions that we all make, right? And it's been insanely successful for them, right? And so in that case, that's what you're being judged on, as opposed to individual expression and things like that. So I think there's kind of a time and place for all policies there.
Yeah, I guess I agree. I think there'll always be, so I was watching Mary Meeker at a presentation. He's an internet analyst and super interesting, and I wasn't aware of this. I kind of track what happens in the US, but there's an Asian kind of social network that's as big as Facebook. Who knew that? I didn't know that. But it's based on anonymity. So there's definitely a case for both of them. I think humans tend to favor information they got from somebody they know, or they can track to some metadata that's how they form trust online. So, I think there'll always be both. I think that to the degree that forums go more towards the non-anonymous, the better off they are in terms of being able to monetize, because I think people's behavior is better. And that's what scares brands away, at least in my world.
Any other questions from the crowd?
I have a question for Dan. Yes. You can check them out. Dan, you've mentioned a couple times around content. Okay, some of us have forums that have just tremendous amounts of content. do you feel that there's value in aggregating and mining that content in a forum into a CMS, an article-based system, or something like that, that makes the data presentable to people that are hitting a site?
Unquestionably, and I think everybody would have a perspective on that, but I think curation is key. There are some people, one of my favorite experiences that validated my choice to dedicate my professional life to forums was that I got a new TV from Costco, and I got it and I turned it on and it looked like crap and I wanted to return it. And I found the answer to my question on the 36th page of a thread on ABS Forum, where the color settings were kept on the official owner's thread for that TV. I'm glad I dug through, I'm glad I found it, I love that TV. I wish someone had put that in the TV buyer's guide somewhere, right? And so the more we can package that content and make it discoverable, it's better for search, it's better for users. It's just a balance of both, because some people want to participate in that conversation and get a lot of value and validation from being part of that conversation. Others want the answer and they want to get out. And so I think curation, editorial, instigation within the communities all have very, very important places.
Yeah, I'll say curation and aggregation I just have a sense would be huge in this area, because if I look at the largest sites in our network, they tend to be curated sites. There's not a dude writing it, you know, so there's like hundreds of people providing content to it. And they are by far the fastest growing. They have more sites than anybody else, and it's just, that is kind of, you know, when I do this at Blog World, everybody's like, those guys are curate, you know. I mean, it's just to the question that was asked earlier, right? It's like digital media moves so fast, but it leaves these big chunks of things that will never go away behind. There's a burning edge, right? And forums were one of the first things. It's not going away, it's still there. And then blogs, because the blog people are all chapped about Twitter, you know? They, oh my God, it's all short content now. I mean, it's the same thing, right? So it's super interesting. And there's just gonna be more and more stuff spun off, right? It's just utilizing it.
You know, and I think that the extent of the content which is on a forum is so substantial. And one of the things that I've been surprised by with the forums that are on us are how oftentimes the automated curating systems, right? That's essentially what the people in this building do. Like that the Google crawlers won't get as deep into forums where you'll often getting to the good stuff. And oftentimes that's because of technical limitations or rules that have been actually built into Google to make sure that they're not over-crawling, you know, massively database-driven sites and things like that. And so, you know, one of the things that I think is really powerful is the more that you can expose that content, the more that you can have the resources to bring that content to the surface, whether that's, again, through your own curation or through enabling, you know, the search engines to help you curate that, the better it's going to be for both your members and also for, you know, the community as a whole, getting people back to be new members of your community.
Or long form content linking back into your site, or embedded URLs and tweets linking back to your site.
It's the deepest content.
Yeah.
We're getting the one more question, Axe.
Can you do a backflip for us?
Ooh. Well, any other day but this week. I broke my hip skiing, and so I'm a little hampered, but I promise if I'm at another ForumCon in the future, I will do parlor tricks with my old gymnastics experience. Any other questions?
Sure. So I'm...
Thanks, Dave.
Oh.
Yeah, Barry.
Okay, hi. So I'm on the other side of the world. That I think the forums, the legacy user interface is really old and dated, and it gets in the way. And I think it needs to change, frankly. And I get a lot of grief from my users that what's this and how come this is so hard and whatever. So what's the other side? Who's got a great model? What's the next generation of forum interface out there? Who's pushing the envelope?
I don't think I'm a CEO, so I'm going to answer that the way I want to answer it, the question I want to answer. It is interesting to watch people like, you know, people who are on the top of the food chain right now, like Twitter, bringing more and more stuff in, right? So the outward linking of videos and photos, you know, there's value in that stuff. So every time you feed it off to, you know, YouTube to see the guy put the thing in the transmission, you know, you're kind of losing a user. So I'm sort of a believer of embracing more of it into your experience, which is not the question you answered, but it's the one I wanted to. And this also probably isn't really the question you answered.
So whatever you guys want to
Yeah,
do.
whatever.
I know what you want.
We can go all day.
I think that what our perspective is that the challenge is how do you get the great content out of the existing system and integrate it into something else. And so, when we think about the problem at Cloudflare, what we're thinking about is how do we make existing code, which is out there, perform significantly better than it would have before. And so I think that the guys at Huddler, a bunch of folks are building new interfaces for forums, and that'll push the envelope. What we're trying to do is, if you have an investment in a technology, make sure that that's as good as it can possibly be, so that you're not losing the sort of content that you got that's stored up behind there, because that migration challenge is a really significant challenge over time.
Excellent.